What's going on, y'all? This is Maes with Quantum Keyhole Studio here today with you for another Maes Method Monday. And today I'm going to be teaching you how to break down this scene right here into shapes. And you can use what I'm going to be teaching you using your eyes and your pencil to break down anything, any scene that you want to draw. You can analyze anything in front of you and know how to approach drawing it. Alright, let's get started! Now, before we really jump into here, you might be thinking to yourself, wow, this is just so complex. How in the hell do I do this? How do I even approach this? Well, relax. Take a deep breath. We're going to take this just piece by piece and take what's complex here and break it down into a bunch of simple shapes that are easy to understand. Really, anything that's really complex can be broken down to simple elements. So let's start with just this little structure right here. So we've got the roof, got all these different facets here. So let's look at the actual shape of the roof, right? Boom. This is a rectangle. Okay. So then, what's within this rectangle here? Well, it's a bunch of much smaller rectangles that are divided up by these horizontal facets here. So we've taken this rectangle, this base shape, and we've just divided it into different sections. So you'll see what I've done here too is with these divisions. If you look at them, these cross over, like they kind of crisscross. There's an alternating interlocking pattern going on here. So if I go like that, boom, 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 like that. And now, since I know that, now I don't have to go into every single one here, but since I know that, I can look at other patterns and see if they follow the same thing. Like you should be doing this while you're drawing, is take what patterns you see and think about how else they might be applied. You know, what else has an interlocking pattern, an alternating pattern, like a chessboard, for example. You've got the white squares, the black squares. Like if you were to go in either direction, if you were to start at like the corner of the board and go in either direction, you go black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white, and then just alternate that. And you know that if every single one of those is a square, so you make each side even, then after a while you draw it, you've got a chessboard, right? So same thing right here, because we know that these are alternating, and so you just see that same pattern here. So let's move on. So this section right here, we got this triangle. Boom. And this follows this pattern right here. These smaller little divots here, these small, slats of wood, right? And then we get to this middle part here, this window. So what I've done here is I've actually taken a shape and chopped it in half. See, this mirrored this way looks like an oblong. This would look like a capsule of some kind, you know, or an oblong shape. So when you're identifying different patterns like this, then you can say like that looks like, you know, half an oblong. That looks like a semicircle, or a semisphere, you know. And by the way, this is super duper helpful when you're going through and trying to analyze what's in front of you to draw, is actually say to yourself and actually analyze, which is something that your brain is trying to do anyways. Like the act of actually drawing and being creative, and you know, the imagination side, like that comes out of your right brain, right? That's a non-linear process. That's taking your senses and, you know, use it and putting them out in a creative way. That's, you know, that's that inflow and outflow. And your logical brain, especially when you're getting started drawing, wants to take over. It wants to analyze. And this is something that you'll learn about if you read a book like Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. It's like your left brain wants to kind of take control and say, no, this, you know, this tree looks like this, and let me break it down like that, you know, and it ends up being wrong because it's not the right process. It's not, you know, it's not like just doing math, right? Like math is a linear, more left brain logical function, but you can apply that to drawing. You can apply that to your analysis. You can give it a job to do. You know, one thing that's, you know, they really posit in that book is really like trying to take your left brain out of the equation, which I don't know I don't think that's really the best idea. I think actually giving it something to do while you're drawing that'll help you to, you know, help you to do what you're doing, help you to get into the creative process, is a much more effective idea. So, this, for example, you can say this is a square. And now one thing I would say on top of that as well is do your best to actually compare the shapes as closely as you can. Like that's what's going to make you actually good at shading and, you know, shape relationships, is like actually taking the time to look at it and say, does this shape look like this shape? And if not, have the patience to make it look like that shape, make it look like, you know, make it look like that pattern. We get this over here. So you can see how this shape right here is kind of cut off. But what do? We can take this triangle, boom, it's a triangle, and we can match that against this shape here. And then we can take this shape right here, boom, and we can say this ends here. Let's see if we can even follow, you know, let's even follow this angle right here. So boom, because I know that this is the slant of the roof, I can take that same angle and apply it over here. Go boom, boom, like that. So I've just compared the slant of this roof right here, this angle that I know, and compared it over here against the slant of this roof over here, and boom, like this, and made that triangle. And so then I can take this shape right here, and sometimes what it's helpful to do too, if you know this is going all the way down to the ground, but there's something in the middle or something in the way here, then you can just, logically say in your mind, I know that this shape looks like this. Like I can imagine that this shape is like this. And boom, we got this square here, and then we got these rectangular doors. And so as I'm drawing this, I want to know that that these lines, the door, are parallel to the lines of the side of this structure here, this kind of shed thing we got going on. Then also we've got this rectangle, boom, and boom, like that. And we got this other rectangle. And then just chop this right down the middle. And there you go. And so these ones are pretty easy. These are just like really pretty cut and dry basic shapes. So here's another square right here. You can compare the top line of this against this. Anyways, so you can see how this kind of all kind of breaks down, how this all matches up, right? How I've divided this up. Now, what you can also do is you can use your actual pencil to compare shapes. Watch what I mean. So let's break down this tree over here, this tree trunk. So as you're looking in the distance, maybe you've seen like pictures of old Renaissance artists or whatever doing this trick, where you're looking at the pencil as opposed to, in comparison to the environment, and you might look at that and wonder like, what the hell are they doing? That looks like some crazy kind of out there stuff that they're doing. But think about it. This has a certain measurement, and as you're like comparing this out in the distance, let's say, look at this. Look at how tall that tree trunk is. So I can say, in relation to my instrument here, which you can call it, it's not a musical instrument, but it's still, technically your instrument, right? As you can say, this line up here goes up to the top of this tree. Boom, right here. And say I even just wanted to use this part as a unit of measurement. Then I can go like this. Where does that go down to? Okay. Right there. And it's something that almost seems like it's cheating, except it's not, because it makes it so easy to break down your scene, to understand your scene, right? So watch, I'll do it again. Like, how long is this, part of this branch over here? Okay, it's exactly that long. It's pretty cool. I can use this, like, that's that exact length. This is like the ideal unit of measurement. that I can use. And I've even got a pencil that I've actually like gridded out on it, like 3 different sides, 3 different columns of the pencil. You know how it's like broken down into different sides, different columns? Like I've actually got that gridded out so that I can look at something, I can use that. Like I don't even use it as a pencil, I just use it as a unit of measurement, and I can compare that with anything in the scene, and I can use that in terms of angles. Like what angle is this? That's like a 45-degree angle right there, and exactly the size of that cap. That's pretty helpful. So I can use that with literally any part of this scene and know how long, how wide different parts are, just based on the instrument that I'm using. So here we go. Let's try this. Let's do this one too. Okay, so this one's not quite that long. This one goes up to about there on here. Okay, so then look, what do we have here? Okay, so then this is kind of squarish, sort of, square shape there. Boom. Watch how I kind of segment this. And by the way, I always used to hate drawing trees just because, they looked so complex. And, just like when you're looking at something, I know this, this happens to, so many artists, especially new artists, is you're looking at it and your visual brain, your sensory brain is trying to make sense of how the branches turn into twigs, turn into leaves, and how that adds up to like the whole tree, and how to draw that accurately, But if you just take it a little bit at a time, if you take the macro shapes and break that down into the micro, then it becomes like, you save your brain a ton of energy. Watch what I'll do. I'll come back to this part. Just say, I know that this is this, kind of shape here. And I know that at the end of trees, the leaves kind of break apart, and they're not exactly, it's not exactly like linear, it's not like a straight line, but you can still average what that looks like. I can go like this. And so then I've got something to start from, right there. I can say that this branch goes about into here. Boom, like that. And as you're going through and you add some detail with the leaves and stuff like that, little, what you might call tertiary details, like little small, minute details, this might, this is either going to be freeing or frustrating for you to hear, but don't be afraid to use the eraser. It's your friend. It's put on your damn pencil for a reason. Using it doesn't mean that you're, wrong, or you're drawing wrong, or it's wrong to admit a mistake of some kind. Plenty of artists intentionally use the eraser as, a way to, like, erase, like, light lines, like it's definitely a good practice to draw in with light lines until you're really sure of your line work, and then go over it with bolder line work once you like the underdraw, the light line drawing that you have. So you've got to wait. So with the eraser, you've got to wait to kind of go back on what you did, go back on what you've done, and with trees here, you can certainly go back and like chop in some negative space. And by negative space, by the way, I mean the point of the contrast between like shading and lighting, right? So the sky here would be negative space to this, right? So anyways, I can go in and I can totally like erase in there where I want to. So that actually gives me more control over what I'm doing. Anyway, back to the silhouette here. Okay, so this is the macro, the outline of this tree. So now I can go in. Do you see how I left this open here, this little shape? That's more micro. This is even more micro. This little one. We get this one. And yeah, we got these. Kind of make the, stay true to the breaking apart these branches pattern we got here. Okay, so we want to know which way those go. And then we got this rectangle. So this is super helpful. You see how I'm doing this, because the branches, the twigs and stuff, they go in all different directions, but I'm able to break them down. I'm able to break down like these single shapes, this whole shape, into little mini shapes that are easier to understand visually and cognitively. So we got a bunch of these little rectangles here. And I know I haven't really talked about this that much, but when I was going to school, I studied media arts and animation. One of the things that I specialized in, things I know how to do, is 3D modeling. So basically building objects in a digital scene. I'm much more focused on illustration right now, but it's something that I really enjoy, specialize in, and love being able to do. And when you're building these objects, you have different facets. You have what are called faces, edges, and vertices, which define the object. So you can really see in doing that how the object is made up, like how many different squares and rectangles actually build this object. So, from doing that, from having that understanding, perhaps that's helpful to know that, helpful to be able to break these down, so you can understand this as well. So here's another shape. It's like a cylinder. So I just made like a little cylinder right there. Basically, this whole trunk right here, this whole portion is one long cylinder. So go down right there. And then these feed into this. So then we've got these little cylinder type shapes coming off of here. Boom. And little moss, you know. Actually, I think I meant to make these like a pile of leaves. So we'll do that. You know, it's fall. Got leaves falling. And boom. Okay. And then I can take that same pattern and apply it over here. Boom. And you see how I'm able to break this down, and this is basically the same height over here, and I'm able to break this down in the same way. Two of these cylinders, and you know, these cylinders coming off into the roots here. Boom, boom, boom. Magic. Frickin' magic. There we go. Okay, and then these little bushes over here, you know, these are obviously like just little circles. They look like little corn puffs or something. I don't know. Or little, they're not corn puffs, cheese balls. They're little cheese balls is what they are. Just little bushy cheese balls. Okay, great. Then, like this. Oh, and by the way, if that's fun for you, if you want to do like what I just did, just say this thing looks kind of like this, and then it's fun for you to, you know, to do that, and that helps you to engage more with what you're drawing, absolutely, steal that trick. Seriously, just made that up on the spot. Steal that one. See, in proportion, yeah, since I'm able to take these same proportions here, and I know that these trees in the distance are about the same height, then I can use that same mechanism to kind of chop these apart, to really break these into sections. So go boom, 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 boom. And don't worry if, you know, as you're starting out, you're not able to, like, just, you know, do this as fast as I'm doing it. I've been doing, literally, guys, I've been drawing since I was 7 years old. So I've been drawing a long ass time. But so being able to do that gives me the knowledge that I can pass on to you so that they can really accelerate your learning. So, you know, those of you who are super curious, super enthusiastic, as I have been, can learn even faster, you know? So here we go. So this is like a little cone. This is a slightly taller cone. This is an even taller cone right here. I kind of smudged this a little bit. Looks like some mist coming over the mountains here, so that's pretty cool. Got another cone right here. Boom. And another one. And after a while, as you're breaking down these shapes, it's going to start to get like really easy for you to see these things. And you might be tempted to jump straight into detail, actually, which is awesome that you have that when you get that awareness, you know. I would still implore you to look out for those shapes and then go in for the details. Like, have your macros down, completely down, and know that that's the fundamental that you can use to then go in for tinier details. Like little shading on these leaves and stuff, these little bits of texture that you have. Like that, okay? So, I'm going to take the same thing that I've done here and apply that up here too. You say you want to get that bushy shape right here. You want to be able to analyze this. So let's say like that, that. One thing that I would suggest is finding the edges first, finding these points, because you see how I broke this down into this macro and all these different shapes here. So try and find some of these points, something to base these off of. So I'm going through, go like this. And all of a sudden, oh wow, look at that. Whoa. Okay. Totally just defines that whole shape just using these points. Oh, there we go. There's another one. And there you have it. So now you can look at literally any scene, and by using your eyes, your observation, your pencil, or whichever tool you want to use, and really getting those measurements down and breaking down your environment into shapes, then you can really get that proportion. You can really get a sense of what it is that you're drawing in front of you. So go draw some awesome landscapes. Go draw some scenes, some people. Draw whatever you want to draw in front of you using this. Thank you for watching. This is Maes with Quantum Keyhole Studio. Wishing you Godspeed.